Hi, I'm here to share one of my favorite stories with you. It's called The Orange Shoes. It's one of my favorites because I really feel like the author chose words to help me connect and feel like I'm actually in this story. So we're going to stop and talk about some of those and what it must feel like to be this main character, Deli. October is here, and I still don't have new shoes. So I walk a mile to school in my bare feet. But that's fine with me because I love the feel of the dirt road under my feet, the sandy places and the dried mud places and the smooth places after the road scraper's gone through. The author used a lot of description to help us feel what that dirt road was like. I was happy going barefoot until one day. And then the author has ... That tells me that the author is about to change the tone or the mood or something about the story. Prudy Winfield said only poor kids went barefoot, and come cold weather, I'd get frostbite, and my toes would turn black and ugly and fall off, and then I couldn't walk to school, so I'd get dumber and poorer, and if I had any kids, they'd get even dumber and poorer than me. That's what Prudy Winfield said, and that's a change, isn't it? That author hinted that a change was coming. Then one day our teacher, Miss Violet, made an announcement. Girls and boys, she said, next week is our Harvest Festival, and all of your families are invited. We'll have our usual pumpkin carving and the pumpkin parade, but this year we're going to do something special. I'm going to ask older students to put on a shoebox social to raise money for art supplies. Now, I didn't know what a shoebox social was, but I knew about art because I'd been drawing since before I could remember. True, I didn't have any real art supplies at home, but I had a stubby pencil that I liked, even though the eraser was missing, and I'd made my own sketchbook out of old envelopes. You just open them up flat and sew them together. There's a lot of good clean paper inside a used envelope, just waiting to be drawn on. Now, the author's telling me there that Deli doesn't have a lot of money to buy things, but she doesn't let that stop her. She doesn't let that steal her joy. She finds a way to do what she wants to do. Since I didn't have an eraser, I would practice drawing in my head first, and then that made my drawings real works of art. So not having an eraser was a good thing, just like not wearing shoes is a good thing. Or how else are you going to feel how soft and smooth and silky dirt is? Until I read this book, I never thought about describing dirt as silky. Now, Prudy Winfield, she had 411 pencils with big, pink, fat erasers just oozing out of her neat wooden pencil case, which was right under my nose since we shared a desk. And she had lots of shoes, too. Today, she had on shiny black patent leather ones. Now, the author really helps us understand the difference between Prudy and Deli. He chooses words like 411 pencils. That's not a real number, but it makes it seem like she has a whole lot. So many pencils, maybe we can't even count them. Miss Violet, what's a shoebox social? Prudy asked, as she slid her toe into a patch of sunlight to make her shoes dazzle. Oh, that Prudy. Does the author help us not really like Prudy right here by showing us what a show-off she is? And can we connect with somebody maybe who has something we don't have and maybe shows off with it? Well, Prudence, answered Miss Violet, who always used our real names, it's when a beautifully decorated box is packed with supper and auctioned off to the highest bidder, and then the money goes for a good cause. Our shoebox social will be more fun because each of you will stand behind a curtain when your box is up for auction and stick out just your shoe, so the families will have a clue as to who you are, and then you'll eat dinner with whomever buys your box. That's something very different. We've never done that as a fundraiser. Now, Prudy Winfield pointed her toe like a ballet dancer and gloated. I think I'll get a new pair of shoes for the shoebox social. What about you, Deli? And then she leaned over toward me and jeered. Gonna wash your feet for the occasion? Ooh, she's not a very nice friend right there. Right then, something lurched in the pit of my stomach and shot up to my chest and clutched tight at my heart. It started to hurt. And it didn't let up for the whole day, not even when Miss Violet asked me sweetly, Adela, would you clean the chalk erasers today? She knew that was one of my favorite things to do at school. I think the author put this sentence, "Gonna wash your feet for the occasion?" I think the author put that sentence in there to help us understand that words hurt. So I think the author may be using his book to teach us a lesson. I'm going to watch for clues that might be what's happening. Remember, the author said that Prudy stuck out her toe like a ballet dancer. That night at supper, we had my favorite cornmeal mush drizzled with warm maple syrup. Not my favorite. It made me feel a little bit better, so I decided to tell Mama and Daddy about the shoebox social. Then I was going to ask for a new pair of shoes, but Daddy started talking about tires for his truck. The old ones just can't be patched anymore, he said, looking seriously at Mama. But Deli needs new shoes before winter, Mama fretted. But if I can't get to work, we can't buy groceries, said Daddy. Now, which is more important, food on the table or new shoes on Deli's feet? Mama didn't answer. After supper, I told Mama about the shoebox social, and in the night, I heard them talking softly in their room. On Main Street, where we went Saturday morning, there was Sussman's department store, which sold just about everything, including shoes and tires, and right there, in the front window, perched on a pedestal, were the most beautiful girls' shoes I'd ever seen, and they were orange, a creamy orange, like the soft side of a pumpkin, where it lay in the garden dirt. Very nice description from the author. I knew they'd fit, yet they would never be mine. Too much money. But looking was free. And then Daddy came along. "What's got your interest there, Deli?" he asked. I just pointed at those soft orange shoes, and then Daddy looked away. Far, far away. The author doesn't stop by telling us Daddy looked away. The author adds these words, far, far away. Does the author tell us there that Daddy's probably worried? He wants to do something for his daughter that he can't because there's just not enough money? I don't know how Daddy did it, but the next morning, those shoes, those orange shoes, were by my bed. I slipped them on, I fastened each strap with a pearl button, and I flew downstairs. The author chose the word flew. What does that tell us? "Daddy, how'd you ever do it? What about your new tires?" I squealed. "I got by with just 2 new ones, so there was some leftover money," he said, and then he handed me my old brown shoes that he patched with the old tires. And he beamed at my new orange shoes. "I guess the Porter family will be going to that shoebox social on Friday night." There had never been a better daddy than mine. On Monday morning, I did something I shouldn't have. I took my new orange shoes to school, just to show the girls, and only at recess, so I hid them under the hazelnut bush at the edge of the schoolyard. The girls started to play on the swings, and I quickly slipped on my orange shoes at recess. I ran to the swings in a flash. An orange flash. "My daddy got them for me," I blurted out happily, and the girls crowded around me. I thought my new shoes would make them happy too, but they didn't even smile. Suddenly, Prudy Winfield ground her foot right down on my toe. "Dirt poor Deli Porter can't have better shoes than us," she sneered. "Yeah," someone hissed, and my other toe got stomped. I tried to get away, but they chased after me, scraping and scuffing and scratching my new shoes till one pearl button flew off. Finally, Miss Violet rang the bell to line up, and I can just imagine what Deli's feeling right now. By the time I'd hidden my orange shoes and ran to the end of the line, my heart was hurting so bad, I thought it would never stop. It was a long walk home from school that afternoon. I sneaked upstairs so Mama wouldn't see my wrecked shoes. I stared at them, every dirt, every scrape, every scratch, every scuff mark, till they blurred into tears. My beautiful orange shoes were ruined. Everything was ruined. Everything. So the author repeats things sometimes, and I think the author does that because he really wants us to understand that this is important. At this moment, Deli feels like everything is ruined. But let's see if she stays feeling like that. I did the only thing that ever made me feel better. I reached for my envelope sketchbook to draw. But when I closed my eyes to draw, first in my head, all I could see were my ruined shoes. So then I clenched my teeth and I squeezed my eyes tighter and tighter until they stung, and all I saw was a greenish purple black. But when I opened my eyes, Things were out of focus, so I blinked, and suddenly, right there, on my shoes, just as clear as day, I saw a tiny vine in one of the cracks. And then one scratch looked like a leaf, and a scuff mark looked like a pretty wild rose. Maybe, just maybe, ... Is the author signaling another change? I rushed downstairs and shouted excitedly, "Mama, we got any paint?" "I knew you'd be asking for that," Mama said quietly. That stopped me cold in my tracks. Did Mama know what happened? "I knew a good artist like you would want to get started decorating your box for the shoebox social," Mama answered, handing me the brown shoebox that she saved from Sussman's department store. Now, I don't know how Mama did it, but she had made little dishes of paint. There was red from beet juice, and yellow from goldenrod flowers, and brownish pink from onion skins, and purple from turnip peelings. And then she had made 2 brushes and a quill pen from turkey feathers. What do you think the author's trying to tell you there about this family, about Mama, and how Deli has learned to do things also? "Mama, how'd you ever?" I exclaimed. "It's not hard if you know where to look," she smiled, and I knew just what she meant. There never was a better Mama than mine. Every day after school, I painted pretty vines and flowers on my box, and then I painted the same design on my shoes. By Friday, they were a matched set, except for the missing pearl button, but an artist knows where to look, so I ran out to our dirt road, and right there I spied a tiny white pebble shaped just like a little heart. I wound it in white thread and sewed it where the pearl button had been. There. Perfect. But Mom and Daddy still didn't know what had happened, so I put my shoes in a sack, pretending that I didn't want to get them dirty, and I wore my patched-up shoes. It was a golden summer evening, so we walked to the Harvest Festival to save gas. Our schoolhouse was decorated with pumpkins and corn stalks. Miss Violet strung a curtain in front of the stage. Everyone brought food to share. Then Miss Violet hustled the older girls and boys up behind the curtain and handed our boxes to Elder Browning, who was the auctioneer. She lined us up. Prudy was first, and I was last. And no one noticed when I slipped on my pretty orange shoes. "Folks, this is for a good cause, so dig deep in your pockets," announced Elder Browning, and he held up Prudy's pretty pink polka-dotted box. "Who'll give me a quarter for this pretty box?" Prudy inched her white patent leather, pink bowed shoes under the curtain, and the bidding shot up till Elder Browning shouted, "Sold for $1.90. Prudy looked down her snooty nose at the rest of us. Can you do that? Look down your nose. I think the author's really telling us about Prudy's character here. "Let's see you top that," she seemed to be saying. The next box brought 71 cents, and the next one 53, and then only 35 cents. I noticed that the price is going down, and I remember that Deli's at the end of the line. Finally, Elder Browning held up my box and gasped, "This one's a beauty, folks." The room hushed. Miss Violet looked at me and then at my shoes. "Oh, Adela," she sighed, and lightly placed her hands on my shoulder. I slid my toe under the curtain. In no time, the bidding raced to $1, and the author has put an exclamation mark here. Then 125, exclamation mark. The author is using even punctuation to tell us this is something very exciting happening. The price had been going down on all the boxes, and now it's going up. The bidding took off fast and furious. 150, 125, $2. I passed Prudy! Exclamation mark. Then 250, 285, all the way to 290. Elder Browning wiped his brow. Do I hear 3? Now $3 was a fortune. Last chance. Going once, going twice, and suddenly I heard my father speak in a strong, sure voice. "I can manage 3, he said, because to me that box is priceless, just like the little girl who painted it." What a message. Elder Browning slammed down his gavel. "Sold to Mr. Porter, a man who knows what to value." I think that's going to be part of our theme. Then he opened the curtain, and everyone applauded, and out stepped Miss Violet. She kept her hands on my shoulders, and it felt like we were one person. After we finished eating and carving our pumpkins, Elder Browning counted the money and announced to Miss Violet, "We're ready to tell the total." Miss Violet said, "I'd like Adela Porter to come forward, please." Miss Violet had me stand on a stool. It made me nervous, standing up high in front of everyone, like I might tip over. She motioned for me to turn around on my toes so that everyone could see. And she said, "Friends, this is why our school needs art supplies for young artists like Adela." Now, I don't know what got into me, but right then I pointed my toe like a ballet dancer and stuck it right in front of Prudy Winfield's face. But just for a second. Do you remember when Prudy Winfield stuck her toe out and the author said, "like a ballet dancer"? I think the author wants us to connect those two occasions, and I'm so happy that Deli got to feel proud about what she did. But she only put it in front of that girl for a second. And I'm pleased to announce that we've collected a grand total of $7.12! Exclamation mark. Folks started to applaud. This is why the story had to be set in the past, because for this conflict, this problem to happen, we had to understand that money didn't buy as much as it does today. Money was rare back then, and it was hard to come by. Folks started to applaud, but Miss Violet put her hand up for silence. And because of Adela's artistic talents and her father's generosity, each student can have their very own paint set! Exclamation mark. All the kids jumped up and down and cheered while Mom and Daddy nodded their approval. I just grinned from ear to ear. As we started to walk down our dirt road, a harvest moon as big as a pumpkin rose over the cornfields. A harvest moon as big as a pumpkin. Love that. Suddenly, Daddy pulled off his shoes and sang out, "Last chance to go barefoot before winter sets in." So we all walked home barefoot, with Daddy laughing and Mama smiling, and me leading the way through the sandy places and the dried mud places and the smooth places after the road scraper's gone through. See how the author repeated that to connect the beginning and the end and make it feel like a finalization, a happy ending? For a second, just for a second, I felt sad that Prudy Winfield would never know what going barefoot was like. But it only lasted a second. What a great job this author did. And I think this author had a message for us, a very important message. The author's heart message is that the most precious things in life are not measured in dollars. And I think this author also wanted to send you a message to stay true to yourself. The author chose this story and built this story on a conflict which rose to a climax and then ended in a resolution. I had trouble figuring out which conflict, which problem, or there are several problems. I had trouble figuring out which problem was the conflict because there were several problems. The kids were mean to her. She didn't have money. She didn't have art supplies. She didn't have shoes. There were several problems. However, when I thought about the resolution, Deli uses her natural talent to fix what the bullies ruined, and she realizes you don't need money to be happy. And that resolution ties to the theme, connects, and so I know that my conflict has to connect to my resolution. So the conflict, the main problem, has to be that Deli is sad that the kids are making fun of her because she's poor. And then the story grows to the climax where the jealous girls just ruin Deli's fancy, expensive shoes. And then Deli uses her natural talent to fix those shoes that the girls had stomped. And so our conflict and resolution tie together with our theme, and the author, I think, did a beautiful job communicating all that to us. I really felt like I was in that story with Deli. I was rooting for her all the way, and I hope you felt like you were in that story also. I loved that Deli never let those girls steal her joy. She was down for a minute, but she did not let them steal her joy for good, and I hope that you don't let other people steal your joy. Go be yourself and be happy.